Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Andrew Townsend. I'm with eLearning Brothers. Today's session is going to be about how to save time and money with Speedy eLearning game development. This session will be recorded. We'll get a copy of it posted on our blog later in the week. We'll also be posting the recording on YouTube, so you can watch it there as you need to. If you have questions during the webinar, during the session, we'll be ready to answer your questions in the questions panel, so please do use that section of GoToWebinar as you need it. We'll have our presenter respond to as many of those questions as we can. Our presenter today is Jeff Sproge, one of our account executives. Thanks, Jeff, for joining us today. We're excited to hear what you have to say. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, and let me pass the screen over to you really quick. Looks great. I see the training arcade.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Andrew. Again, for everybody who is listening, my name is Jeff Sproge. I'm an account executive with eLearning Brothers. Just want to make that clear as we start the webinar. I am not a developer myself, and we've kind of done that intentionally for this specific webinar, because not only are we going to talk about saving time and money with the training arcade games, but we're going to show you just how simple it is to walk through the process of building the game. So again, not a developer here. Have not, worked with Captivate or Articulate aside from conversations regarding those tools. So as you see here on the screen, I'm on the main training arcade page on the eLearning Brothers website. We've got some information on the screen. I am going to scroll past it, even past the pricing, and get right to the games. So currently we have 8 games available in this training arcade library. You're going to see the titles. They're really not going to mean much to you if this is your first exposure to the games. I will likely demo one quickly for us, and then we're going to jump right into the process of building. We've got Quiz Jumper. There's Matchgami. This is a game very similar to Candy Crush, if you will. Notice there's a buy now button, which we love when people click that, but the one that we'll be using is the play demo. We've got a word game called Scramble. Recall, this is a game where you're shown a photo and then you're asked to recall things about the photo after it disappears from the screen. A trivia game, so this is more just quiz-based. Sorted, there's a scenario game. I'm kind of flying through these. And then lastly, our newest game that we've added onto the site is Jeopardy. I imagine everybody listening to the webinar is familiar with Jeopardy, so that was a nice add-on that we have here in the library. So again, a total of 8 games. One of the first games that we had active was Quiz Jumper, and it's one of the more basic games. It's my favorite, so I'm going to click on the demo right here. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but I really want to show you the functionality before I actually teach you how to build the game. So that will be the majority of the webinar. And again, it's quick and easy. So the name of this game is called Jump into Finance. Let's click on the Start button. Jump into Finance. How well do you know finance? Play this game and find out. Okay.
It's probably worth it to point out as well that there is music being played. You just can't hear it, but it's nice, soft, happy, relaxing music.
Yep, and if you were to demo this on your own computer, whether you went on the website and found it yourself, or should there be further interest, towards the end of the call, I'm going to talk to you about how we can, get your information to at least send you a link to this gaming page. There's some instructions on how to play the game, but you've got me, so let's jump past that and get right into the game itself. So here we have a character. He is just jumping, just like the title. So the higher he goes, you'll notice on the top right of the screen, the more points get added, to your account, if you will. Along the way, there's going to be some yellow question boxes, and that's really where we're going to quiz our employees. So question. How can you build a good credit history? Well, establish other forms of credit like a checking account, debit card, car payments. That can help demonstrate that you're responsible. Only use your credit card when you know you can afford to use it. Be reliable, stay within an affordable budget. how can you build a good credit history? I'm going to click on this one. Why not? Okay, this is already a good example. I thought what I was clicking on was right, and it was, but this was a multiple select, meaning that more than one answer was right. And we're going to find that as we go into to building the game. There's a few different options you can click for questions. So we'll do one more, and then I will end this game. I do want to show you the leaderboard, which really makes it an arcade game, if you will. The risk return ration says, let's go ahead and click on none of the above. Okay, well, I was wrong, and here's why. It explains. But let's go ahead and end the game. If I get questions right, I'll get more lives and there'll be some jetpacks there, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. Lets me know my score, questions that this is a sample page, but answered right, wrong. And then typically there would be a leaderboard here, which I'll show you on the final version of the game that we built. So we're not going to play this again at the moment. Jump out of that and get back on this screen. So again, 8 games currently available. The one that I'm going to show you how to build is the quiz jumper, but the simplicity really is all around for each of these games. So because it is so easy to build, certainly, if you're a developer listening to this, that's really where the saving time portion is going to come in, because you really don't need a lot of know-how. You're not going to go through all the coding or even functionality of the game. It's going to be more manipulate the settings and you're done. Now, if you're a manager who's looking into gamification for your employees, well, save time, you're going to save money. So it really does go hand in hand, not only with this product, but a lot of the the resources that we have to offer here at eLearning Brothers. So we'll go ahead and launch the training arcade. The view that you are about to see, or should be on your screen now, is the view that you will have when you move forward with full access to any or all of these games. We do have access to the analytics. I'll speak to that towards the end, but let's jump right into a new game. So this is Jeff, the account executive, looking to build a new game. Since I'm an employee of eLearning Brothers, I have access to all of them. That's great. Should you only purchase one of these games, you'll see the option for these games, but these should be grayed out. So I'll click on the quiz jumper game and we'll get right to it. Okay. If anyone has any questions, again, please feel free to type into Andrew, and I'm happy to do to the best of my ability to answer these questions. And then
it does look like you're about to answer this, but can you show us how to change the environment or the background of the game while you're playing it?
Yes, absolutely, and we are about to get into that. So we've got some information on the background and splash screens right here, so we'll get to that right in a second. The first thing it actually has you do is come up with a game name. So let's do, Jeff's game. Okay, when I click off of that, notice it creates a custom URL specific to this game. So right away, if I wanted to, once I'm done creating the game, I could copy this URL, email it to my friends, email it to all the employees. That's a quick way to get the game out, but there are different options, which we'll discuss. Default language is English. We do have the ability to translate the games. If you click on any of these other languages, it's going to give you a template for the essentially the wording that would fit into these games. So yeah, happy to discuss more of that with you individually if you'd like. Next in the game settings is setting a timer. Well, first off, do we want a timer? Let's say yes, we want a timer for all of our questions. I get to decide how many seconds that timer is going to last for. Let's say 30. I only want to give people 30 seconds for each question. Set a timer for the entire game. Oh, it's already on no, so let's keep it that way. Percent of questions answered correctly required to pass. I don't know if I need to fill that in. I'm going to put in a 0. We'll see how that affects it. Okay, perfect. I really don't want there to be a requirement for this game that I'm creating. But again, it's up to you. Randomize the questions, yes. So even if I create them in a certain order, the game will do exactly what it says. It will randomize those. show a tutorial before the game starts. Typically, I probably would want that, but I'm going to click on no for this. Learn more URL, no. Information pop-up, so right before the game starts, is there information that I want to be, right after the title screen. You can choose to put in a title for that, and then certainly you'd want to put in a text body. For the sake of this demo, I won't, but I will definitely manipulate the splash screens and all of that. Here's something you want to be aware of: user registration. Well, Jeff, how in the world do we track who is playing the game? First off, you might not care about tracking it. Okay, well then you really don't have to require a lot out of the user. We found that most companies do want to track who's playing the game and certainly how well they've done through the analytics. So you're going to need to require that they, do a few things before playing. So kind of a registration process. So registration type, you do want to keep it as no authorization. Require user registration before playing. Yes, we do want to do that. Now that I've clicked yes, a few other drop downs pop up on the screen. So we're going to have at least one required field now. I can either have that be the first name or the initials. Let's do the initials, and let's change this from optional to disabled. So I don't really care about the last name. I could also disable this required field, but let's keep that on there. And I want the initials and the employee's email address. Everything else, phone number, maybe employee ID, country, organization, don't need any of that, but you could certainly, turn that on if you wanted. So the initials, employee email address, and so forth. So with the splash screen, we'll add on to here, and then when we actually get into the game or games like it, you'll be able to see where this, fits in. Let's click on, company logo. I'm gonna upload an image, browse from images that I've, recently had downloaded. I went on to our stock assets, last night and said I'm gonna use just pictures of a bunch of animals for the photos that we're gonna insert. So, here's one of a dog. Okay, so that's where the company logo would go. Game default title, I could go in and put in a text, and we're going to put in Jeff's game, and then the background image. Let's get that and see if we can find another one. Well, we've already got a dog. Let's do this beach background. Okay, maybe I don't want to click on that. Okay, well, a lot of the images that I downloaded were specifically for a question. You would want to take into account the sizing of the PNG image that you are going to use, which I have not, but it would certainly go in the background here. Okay, now if you did want to add a background track, you've got a few different options here that are pre-programmed into the training arcade games, as well as a theme. So what we were demoing was the city theme. You'll notice the character right here jumping, above buildings. Well, we've got a holiday theme, so you see the snowman. It's also snowing. We have an origami view, even the Thanksgiving one where you've got a turkey jumping up, but the functionality of the game remains the same. And notice at no part did anything that I manipulate change that functionality. So again, with me not being a developer, really doesn't matter. I just need to know how to edit the settings, and it may have been helpful if I had an image that would fit in there. But now let's jump into the questions. We'll get back to the images here. So I'm going to go through 3 questions. All of them are going to be different as far as the question type and certainly the answer. So first one, let's go with multiple choice. So there's only going to be one correct answer here. So I don't need to insert an image or any video or audio for this. Let's just go right to the question text. So well, if I could spell, that'd be great, right? What is 2 plus 2? Okay, this is certainly one that I cannot get wrong, I hope. So what is 2 plus 2? Scroll all the way down. It's going to ask about a specific timer for this question. On the game info page, I already set up yes timer 30 seconds, but I could edit that individually for each question. I want it to stay randomized for the answers on this, so it may not come the way I set it up. Currently, there's only space for 2 answers. Well, let's go ahead and add a third and a fourth, and say one of the answers is 1. 1 is 0. 1 is 4, and 1 is 10. Now I need to go over here and mark the correct answer. Obviously that's 4. And then below here you have a feedback response. These are both optional, but should you want to not only congratulate but explain why somebody got the answer right, or provide information for why the answer they chose was incorrect, again, to use it as a learning tool, you could fill this in. So that would pop up right or wrong. Okay, so we've got 1 question down. Easy enough. Let's add another question. Andrew, you've got something for us?
Yes, there's a couple questions here. So as you're typing out the questions, is there a character limit? Especially in the jump game, I imagine you don't want to write an entire paragraph for the question or the feedback. So in what way are you limited?
That is a very good question, one I haven't gotten before. I do imagine you're limited. There's only a certain amount of space that you can fit onto the screen.
What happens if you just hold down the Z key or something?
Well, you know what? I've got all of you here listening, watching. Let's find out. Now.
Okay, that looks like, I don't know, 30 Z's, 50 Z's. I'm not counting them.
It looks like it's still going. There's quite a bit of space, but once you get into the game.
Switching letters. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah, it's still going. The training arcade games, if we make this a little bit bigger, maybe it's not just the feedback response. Certainly there's a lot of room for it, but how about the amount of questions that you can add? They're really, especially with the quiz jumper game, you can add as many questions as you want. There are some games that you may come upon, like the scenario game or the trivia game, that it really is just kind of a set amount, and then the game would just logically have to end based on the functionality of that game. But
for as far as the characters, it looks like what I would imagine they do is just shrink the text so it does fit. So you may just want to be careful and try to keep that character count down.
Yeah, and if you have further questions, again, I'm happy to answer the question to the best of my ability. With here, there's not a 100% sure answer, so I'm happy to get that answer to you after the call. If you'd like to leave us your information, I'll be happy to find out for you. But yeah, looks like there's quite a bit of room.
Another question is, this is only web-based, is that right? You can't use it offline?
Well, correct, yeah. This is web-based, so any access to the game, at least in a roundabout way, would be through our website. So, yeah, should you want to plug this on your LMS or even through your authoring tool and publish in a course, all of that is possible, but yes, you would need to do that online through eLearning Brothers.
Okay, and then going back into the general game settings, when you're putting up your own background, does that have to be PNG, or what other file formats are allowed?
As far as I'm aware, it does need to be PNG. I have not
JPEGs?
tried. I'm sorry?
It won't accept JPEGs?
That may be the case. I'd also want to look into vector files. So good question. Again, I would need to get back to you on that, but PNG have been the images primarily that I've been using. But yeah, if it's still frame, I can't imagine that it would be an issue. Now, as far as question number 2, I wanted to go ahead and show us an image match. So we already did multiple choice. Let's do an image match. Now this is where the animals that I downloaded are going to come into handy. So let's create the question first. Which of these images is of a dog? Okay, which of these images is of a dog? Let's add 4 answers. Again, we want to keep the timing, randomization, all good. Let's browse. Okay, so we've got a cat for one of these. Give it a second. There's the cat. Okay, the next answer will be this bunny rabbit here. Okay. Now hopefully all of you are able to spot the dog on the screen. I may not know how much text goes somewhere, but I do know what a dog is, so that is very important. We're going to click on the dog right there. Again, we could add in the feedback, and we've done an image match now. And then we're going to add one more question to this, and let's do a multiple select. So again, we're not going to mess with the timing. I need to add 2 more answers. So now we have 4 answers here, but again, at the end of this, 2 or 3 or maybe all of them, depending on the question that you create, could be right. So which colors are on the US flag? Okay, red, white, blue, and of course the ELB orange. So then I would just simply mark, the multiple answers that are right. Again, feedback and the process continues. So from here, if everything that I've set up, I can go back to the settings, looks right. Let's just go back to the city view. I could go ahead and save the game. I'm going to try that now. I did find yesterday, show leaderboard. Okay, this was the last one that I did skip over. So I'm going to click on yes, but I do want to explain the leaderboard. This really is what gives it the arcade type feel. So if you remember the old school arcade games, you put your 25 cents in, play the game, and then at the end it allows you to usually input your initials is what it would be. You can then see the leaderboard. If you did really well, you'd likely be on the top 10. If not, it would say, hey, you're 200th place, but here are the top 10, and here's how far your score is off compared to the people who are really doing well. We've found that this is a great motivator. If you are, me being on a sales team, sales is very competitive. So if you're putting together some training for the sales team, and everyone has to input their name into the registration, you can see so-and-so's name on the leaderboard. Kind of gives you extra motivation to I got to play the game and do better this time. So after a while, if you allow your employees to play the game more than once, that information really is going to be ingrained into their brain. And for games like the Quiz Jumper, if they don't die right away like I did, depending on the amount of questions that you created, it is going to start to repeat the questions. And if the end objective here is to get somebody to learn, sometimes repeating the questions is helpful. Maybe they got it wrong the first time, but based on your feedback explanation, after the question, they can do better. So that's the goal here. Let's see with that. I'm going to click saving. This is the part that took a few minutes, and not only based on your internet connection, but just the amount of questions you're putting on the game. It can take a little while. So let's now copy this. And the simplest way to get this game out to people is just copy the URL. These games can be published. You notice the SCORM files right here. If you wanted to put it on your LMS, that is available. Now again, since this is run through eLearning Brothers, we still track all the numbers, hence the analytics, which I'll show you in a moment. But you could at least see who is playing the game and that it was opened. So let's put that URL in there and see what I have created. Okay, so there's my dog, there's Jeff's game, since I didn't insert an image into the back. It's it's the default, which usually is the case. So initials, okay, so now I've fulfilled the registration requirements. I chose not to set a tutorial, which I really do recommend you doing. but now we can play the game. I will try to get to one of the questions right away. Okay, which colors are on the US flag? White, red, blue, submit. Okay, this is typically, again, this is about the space you're going to have for the feedback. But I got that right, so not only is it going to boost my score, but it does give me a boost up to, to jump higher quicker. And we'll try to land on another. Okay, which of these images is of a dog? Awesome, got it right. I'm going to do one more because I want to show you the timer on the bottom. And again, notice the jetpacks right up there. So what is 2 plus 2? 4. So before I click on that, notice the timer. Gave myself 30 seconds. So by the time that runs out, 30 seconds would be out. But let's click on 4. And yeah, it would continue as is. But let's end the game. So I'm losing my lives right up here. Now I'm down to 0. You gain lives by answering questions correctly. Okay, so questions answered 3 out of 3. Based on just that, I got 100%. But let's look at the leaderboard. Well, awesome. I'm the top scorer because I'm the only one that's played the game. But the more people you have playing, obviously the leaderboard would, be full, and maybe I wouldn't even be found here. Again, I'd be 200th place out of everybody playing, and you can replay the game again, but it does not add on to your score. It would start you over. So let's get out of this and then touch base on the analytics. And, from there we would, love to answer any further questions you have. This account that I'm on is really tied to everybody at eLearning Brothers. So when these games first started to go live, we had everybody jump on and at least create one game because we wanted to demonstrate to all of the employees how easy it was to build. So somebody built a Christmas Vacation quiz. So if anybody's seen that movie, not only am I going to use it for the example, but it's a great movie. So let's take a look at some of the users. Looks like 7 people played the game. We've got their names right here: Kat, Amy, Mike, LeBron, although we don't have an employee named LeBron. LeBron at Cavs.com. I don't think LeBron James played this game, but there he is. So it's going to let you know how many times they played the game. So completed sessions. Notice some people played it more than once. Average time that they played. So some people didn't even last 30 seconds on the game. Questions correct, incorrect, total of questions that they went through. If you wanted to break it down even more so, you could click on the individual and where is it? Well, give me questions right there. Why didn't I see that? So for Kat, it is going to show us. Kat looks like for most of the questions she repeated at least twice because she just lasted longer in the game. A good amount of these you can see she actually got wrong the first time around, but all of the ones that she answered twice, or even with this one 3 times, except this last question here, she got right. Okay, so maybe from a grading standpoint, if that's what you wanted to do, you could just check out the first attempt. But if you are concerned as the designer or developer or even the boss, usually the biggest thing is getting these employees to retain the information, and it looks like here that did happen. There's the ability to export, I believe, right here, yep, on a spreadsheet. So if you wanted to look at all this, and then we even have stats for just everyone in general, the 7 users that played the game. You've got all the first attempts, all the second and third. So there's a few different ways to view this and see who succeeded and who didn't. But at the very least, these are very fun, interactive games. Again, extremely easy to build. You can't edit the functionality, but certainly the settings. It's going to allow the employees to not only have fun, but then, kind of ingrain some of that information that you were hoping they would into their minds while competing back and forth with one another. Yeah, so that really was the presentation for the webinar. Wanted to show you how easy it was that I guess somebody like me could go in, and now I've got a game that I could email to any one of you. And certainly if you're interested in looking at this game, since you just saw me build it, we'd be happy to email it to you. And I think Andrew has some further information we probably want to discuss. But yeah, happy to answer any other questions that you do have currently.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of questions here. The first one is, you're showing us some very cool, very impressive analytics. How secure is this page? Is it password protected? How secure is the information that is inside of the training arcade?
Yep, so all of the information is password protected. So if it were just you as the user, you would be the only one that could log into this account. There's nobody within eLearning Brothers or even the company that we've partnered with, the game agency, that would have access unless they were an employee to view this. And certainly the employee would only need access if it was to assist with an issue that you were having. So nope, no one at the company that you're with would be able to view this. Think of it more as you'd have an administrative view. So not only creating the games from an administrative level, but no, everyone else would just be able to see the leaderboard. And again, you've got some email addresses on here, but these are of employees. So if you want to email them, we're happy to answer those.
So you're showing us more of the detailed information here as to what we get in the results. Could you drill down into what a specific person did answer, even if they got it wrong? So let's take our LeBron character, for example. If you click on his name, do you get the details about what he did answer? Or do you just see that he got it wrong?
That's a great question. Pretty positive.
Like you just see what he got it wrong.
Yeah, you just get to see that he got it wrong. Correct.
Okay, great. Another question here. If I build a game and embed it in my training that is taken annually, will the learners still have access to the game when they have to take it next year, but my eLearning Brothers subscription has expired?
Great question. The answer would be if the subscription does expire, that game would no longer be active to anybody who wanted to play it. There are a few options. One is obviously renewing that subscription. There is a smaller fee that I think is 20% of what the game actually costs. If you wanted to keep the games that you have built active, so we'll continue to kind of save that storage space for you, but you wouldn't be able to build any more games. That is definitely an option. You still
probably wouldn't be able to edit it either.
Correct. You would not.
Okay.
But that is certainly an option. But no, if you did not renew the subscription, they nor you would have access to continue playing the games or log into the analytics even. So that is something certainly to consider if you are looking at these games.
Can multiple people build the games, or is it limited to just one user?
Really depends on what you sign up for. So if you were to purchase one game, for example, a single game costs $1,500. That is for one user, so one administrator to come in and build the game. There is a $500 fee for any other users or administrators you'd like to add on. So when I say users, obviously I'm not talking about the people who play the games, but the people who are building. So if you
administrators,
exactly. So if you want to add those on, you certainly could, but for the initial fee, it is kept to just one. Correct.
Okay, excellent. And then, so we talked about embedding. One other question in here: do I have to have an authoring tool in order for these to work in my LMS, or can I put them in separately?
No, you can absolutely put it in separately. It's almost encouraged, but again, with using that SCORM file, I would just like to clarify that all the analytics are run through us. A lot of the people that I speak to on the phone, if it is concerning the training arcade games, they want their LMS to be able to read all of that, and that just won't be the case. You need to know that up front, that your LMS will know if somebody has played the game. You can present the game on the LMS, but everything else is eLearning Brothers.
Okay. And then one other question has come in. So you mentioned that you can have different separate admins for an additional cost, but the number of players is 100% unlimited. Is that right?
It can be, but once we get up into I believe it's 2,500 players, there would be an extra cost ranging from, $500 to $1,000. Again, it's going to depend on how many users you have. So if you feel like you not only want the game, are interested in it, but are going to hit that total, then that's something we'd want to talk about. I should clarify with that, if like I'm one user and say you purchase multiple games and I play all of the games, or I replay the same game multiple times, I'm still just one user. So
Sure.
It's not going to count me multiple times. So yeah.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jeff. I've put this other information up on the screen. ELBX Live is coming up. It is, let's see, what's today? The 9th. So we are almost exactly 1 month away from ELBX Live. You can register for that at eLearningBrothers.com. I'm not sure if Jeff's going to be there at ELBX, but we will have lots of people there to answer questions about the training arcade, to show off some of the games that we've got in there, and answer your other questions as well. We've got some great speakers coming in to talk about instructional design, XAPI, and other things that you may need. So please do check us out at eLearningBrothers.com. You can register for ELBX Live. And if people have more questions about what you've talked about today, Jeff, is there a way for them to follow up after this call?
So I'm gonna have a coughing attack right here at the end.
Suddenly dying.
I'm gonna let you continue.
Okay, yeah. So give us a call, or just send us an email. Jeff's email is jsproge, S-P-R-O-G-E, at eLearningBrothers.com. He'll be happy to take your calls. Thanks, Jeff. Sorry you're dying right now.
I know.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.